Hi students, and welcome back to the classroom. Tim back here from Lessons on the Web today, and I have a shorty but a goodie lesson here for you, which is how to tell what key you're in. If you don't know, it can be sometimes a little confusing because you can have a key signature and you can look up what that key signature means on the internet, but a lot of times it can either be in a major key or a minor key or some kind of strange mode. We're not going to talk about modes so much right now, but we will talk about like how to figure out what key you're in and then whether it's major or minor. So let's not waste any time and let's get right on to the lesson. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is look at the key signature. It's a very simple thing, but it's really what you should do. If you're not familiar with what a key signature is, it's this thing at the beginning of a piece. Here we have Beethoven's Sonata, number 1. There we go. And then the key signature is this thing in the beginning. Right there, circled in red. Actually, I circled. Key signature is really only this little part here. So looking at that, we have 4 flats, B, E, A, and D. So if you put a note on each of where each of those flats is, you would have what note is flat throughout the entire piece. I'm not going to get into exactly what each key signature means, but what you can do if you're not familiar with your key signatures is you look up on the internet, you say, okay, we have 4 flats, and then you type in on Google or whatever, you type in, what key signature is 4 flats. It's going to give you 2 answers mainly. It's going to say A flat major or F minor. So how in the world do you figure out whether you are in major or minor? Because it depends on the piece. If you have 4 flats, in some cases, you're talking about a major key, and some a minor. So let's get right into it. So this one, what you want to do first is, other than look at the key signature, you want to look to make sure the key signature is the same throughout the entire piece, because pieces can generally change key quite a lot, and it looks like we're maintaining the same thing throughout the entire piece. So it's safe to say, for the most part anyway, that we are in the same key all around. Let me give you another tip. This is the next biggest tip to figuring this out. Okay, the next big thing you want to do is look at the first chord or the first measure. Now I'm going to show you what I mean by that, because a lot of times when they bring us into a piece, there's no chord written there. You can see that there is a chord written a little bit later on right here, but as you can see that there's no real chord in the first main measure. So where could it be? Well, what I would do is, here I have a little tip for you, is you want to take all the notes in the first measure and you want to combine them and play them all at once. So instead of playing this, I'm just going to play and play them all at once. Now you have to know your major and minor keys, but remember, if it sounds sad, you're talking about minor. If it sounds happy, you're talking about major. So in this case, it's minor. And specifically, we're playing an F minor triad right there. So we are most likely in a minor key. Whatever chord, the first chord that appears, or the first measure, if you combine the notes into a chord, that will generally tell you 99% of the time what key you're in. Now, sometimes music does its weird things and composers do their weird things, but 99% of the time that is true. Let's get on to the next main point to tell what key you're in. Okay, the next major thing you want to do, which is pretty common sense once you know the first tip, is look at the last chord and the last measure of the piece. Now, in this case, this is an entire sonata. So a lot of times the first movement, there's 3 movements in any sonata, and there's a first movement which is in a certain key, a middle movement which is in another key. They're generally in different keys. So when you're looking at this, you want to look at the last chord of the movement. So if you have a larger scale piano piece, you want to just look at the end of not the entire thing, but the movement. But generally, if you're a beginner and you're learning songs, at the end of the song is just fine, especially if it's like a 2-page song. It's probably only going to have a single movement or a single section. So let's scroll down. See how it says adagio and it looks all different? Well, that's another movement. So we want to look right here and look at the last chord. Let me circle it here for us. So here's our last chord. If it wasn't written as a chord, remember I would play all the notes together as a chord. So here we go. We have F, A flat, C, F, A flat, C, F. And you play them all together. Does that sound like major or minor? Well, it sounds like minor, doesn't it? Especially if I only pick 3 of the notes. because a lot of them are repeated. Well, just playing that, it's an F minor chord again, so it matches up with our first answer. It began in F minor and ended in F minor, so therefore 99% of the time we're going to be in the key of F minor instead of F major. Now, or instead of A flat major, sorry. So if it was an A flat major, the first chord and the last chord would be an A flat major chord rather than an F minor chord. Okay, before we do the final review, I want you to leave a comment in the comment section, which basically is, I have one question for this one. It's a simple lesson, is what questions you have about keys, about, what key you're in or key changes throughout the piece. I would love to hear them. Leave them in the comments. And whenever we do that and, we all share our ideas together, we all learn together as a class and we all learn a lot more. I can't tell you how many times, I know I say this all the time, but I can't tell you how many times I've looked in the comments and it's really enlightened me to different ideas that I had never considered before. I've been playing piano for over 20 years and I still see things in the comments where I'm like, wow, that is just brilliant. Or somebody asked a question that everybody had on their mind and I was able to answer it for them. And also, if you see a question in the comments that you know the answer to and I haven't gotten to it yet, as long as you're confident in the answer, give the answer and share along together because, as a community and as a classroom, we can grow ever stronger together. So let's get on with the final review. Okay, we're in our final review, so we're just going to talk about the main points you want to write down for today. So the 3 main points of figuring out what key signature you're in are, number 1, look at your key signature. You look at the key signature. If you know your key signatures, you're already in great shape. If not, you can look up on the internet what each key is. So if you have 1 flat, you type in, what key signature is 1 flat. Like I said, it'll give you 2 answers. It'll give you a major key and a minor key. Now, that's where number 2 comes in. You look at the first chord of the piece, you play it, and you say, okay, is that a major chord or a minor chord? And then in this case, it would definitely be a minor chord. So chances are we're in minor. And then you look at the last chord of the piece and see if it matches. Most of the time, whatever key you're in will match the chord, the first chord, and the last chord of the piece. So a little assignment I have for you that you want to go out and do on your own is go through the pieces that you've been playing and look at the key signature and just follow the steps actually we talked about at this lesson. Look at the key signature, look at the first chord and last chord, and see if you can figure out what key you're in. And a lot of times, if you are stuck or you want to check your answer, you can type in the name of the song you're doing and then the name of the key online, and it can tell you the answer. Now, sometimes you can find a version of a song that's in a different key than what it's originally intended to be in, and you just need to look out for that. But I recommend you do this on your own. That's your homework assignment for next time. Remember, if you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed our lesson today on figuring out what key signature or what key you are commonly or currently in, rather. What I really highly suggest you do is you check out a playlist if you're interested in learning more about how music works and all these little details of music. You want to check out the music theory playlist. It's highly recommended. Once I edit this together, I will put up a little annotation somewhere here on the end screen for you to click on as well. Remember that the playlists are a very, very useful tool for you to use. So if you're browsing around on the YouTube channel, I highly recommend you check those out. They are very, very useful. So this has been Tim from Lessons on the Web. Thank you so much for being a part of our classroom and joining us today. I hope you have a great one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you so much.